Welcome back, my friends. Here we are again at the Hippie Moms podcast, and Angela is back with us today. Angela, thank you again for being with us.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being with us. Today I really wanted to talk about triggers
Mm.
because we know that life is full of them. And when you stack on kids and all the mundane things that come along in parenthood, it just the amount of triggers just tends to increase. And what I've discovered is that if we can create awareness in those triggers, we can create a whole new reality in our families, in our relationships. And so I really want to start to talk about how we can start to look at triggers as magical portals,
Oh,
right?
well, you said a few amazing things in there that really would open this conversation. And one is the awareness of the trigger.
Mhm.
I mean, if we really bring it down to its simplest form, the awareness of the trigger. And the thing is that there's the obvious ones where, duh, I'm in a trigger. Like, I'm so triggered by you, husband. I'm so triggered by you, friend, school, kid, whatever that is, the obvious, where you just feel yourself so bunched up.
Mhm.
And then there's how we live our lives. Sometimes we let the bar get so low
Mm.
in our day to day, how we feel on a regular basis, that we think that normal is actually a low level trigger. And so to begin to just, and again, there's nothing to do here. We're not fixing you. I mean, the biggest illusion of all is to think you need to be fixed.
Mm.
You don't need to be fixed. We're just watching something. Like, imagine you're watching a movie and you don't see something, but somebody else does. And they go, watch, see that thing back there? And you go, oh, I see it now. You're not fixing what you see. You're just saying, oh yeah,
Mm.
I do see it now. I didn't see it before. Now I see it. That's it. That's the name of the game. And all we're doing right now, to your point about building awareness around feeling, is just checking to see, am I in a low level agitation most of my life? Like, just a
Yes.
low and nervousness or rushing, like trying to get from one place to another. And all of that is just some level of resistance to
Mm.
what is. I'm chasing something other than what is. I'm chasing another moment, or I'm rejecting the moment that I'm in, wanting it to be something else. Just turn up the level of let me watch this.
Mm. I can really relate to that, living in that low level anxiety, trigger, anxiousness, rush. And it does become kind of the norm.
Mhm.
And so where I think that's a great place to start, right? Because we're not going to really always start in these huge triggers that, can kind of take us down. We're going to start kind of looking at those little things that start to cause that rub or that resistance.
Yeah. So what a fun game to go, huh? I actually am
Mm.
often in a low level agitation. And I didn't even realize I was. In fact, if somebody were to be like, in this moment, how you doing? I'd be like, pretty good. And
Right.
I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I'm calling low level agitation good. That just means I got a low bar. And that's good news, because the moment we become aware of a low bar, that just means I'm setting myself up to, like, my average is kind of down there.
Yeah.
Now there's something that can open up. But until I have an awareness of that, there's
Mm.
no door. There's no, I don't even know that I don't know it.
Mm.
So truly the awareness in and of itself opens up space. It's inevitable now that, because I have an eye on it, just an observation of it, just a looking at it, that something's going to open up, because now I'm going, oh, I see that. And then that
Mm.
in which I see starts to shift because I'm aware of it.
Yes, yes. So let's say I am in that low level anxiousness, particularly around getting the kids out to school, right? I just feel the rush. I feel all the pressure, making sure everyone has everything and them getting out of bed, all the things. So now I'm like, okay, I feel it. Like I feel it in my body. It's not like this big, like, I'm going to kill somebody or, or like, I'm
Yeah.
going to yell. It's just like that like, it's almost like like a out of tune, like song or something that I'm hearing that just doesn't sound good. It's there, but I just don't, I hear it and it's agitating. So now, okay, I'm noticing this. Okay, I'm noticing, okay, here I am. Now what? How far do I
Yeah.
go?
Good question. Well, here the great thing about the low level agitation is that it doesn't really have a lot of control over me. I just wasn't aware that it was there. It's not strong enough that I'm completely lost in it. So the moment I notice it, and what am I noticing? Let's be in awareness of that. Typically, I'm gonna have some level of tension in my body. You
Yes.
ever notice that? There's no way that I have some degree of agitation without some level of physical tension in my body. I'm just clenched a little bit.
Yeah,
Body
clench.
stores some tightness. Sometimes, if you even right now, as you're listening to this, tune into your face, your forehead, and your eyes, and your jaw, and then just relax it. And you didn't even realize, oh, it was slightly clenched.
Mm.
There's an intensity in my face more
Mm.
often than not. So when I notice, like, okay, let me check to see if I'm rushing or just slightly agitated about this or that, a memory of something that happened 5 minutes ago or a day ago,
Yeah.
then I'm just gonna first witness, second, see if I can relax right here. That's it. Don't change anything. That just see if I can relax. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Because by the way, when we start to do these little, we'll call them games, because we're not going to lose any sleep over it. It really does just become like a pastime when I'm driving in my car. Let me check. I'm going to check this out. When I do that regularly, then these big things in my life that do have a hold of me that I just don't even know how to be any other way, somehow it feeds that. And somehow I notice myself more relaxed in the big things. So
Mm.
it's these little things that I can play with versus chasing down the big thing with my husband or my, all those things. The little things that I play with actually shift that. So here's another game.
Okay.
You ever watch a movie where there's like a suspense or, if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't, but most of us know that like the music that's playing dun 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 dun. And I remember watching my mom and she would always like cover her face with a pillow.
That's me.
Yeah, right. Like you just feel that anxiousness inside because it's taken you on that anxious journey, right?
Mm.
So here's what I love to do. Deep down, logically, I know it's a screen. 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 So I go to check to see if while I'm watching this with
Mm.
the music and all, I start to breathe different and I start to see if I can become the master of that domain and relax my body, even though all the things outside of me are going dun 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 dun. And I just check. My best is enough. Let me
Mm.
just check it out. So really, it's the same exact thing when you're checking to see what's happening internally in your being through these everyday mundane things in life that I have low level resistance.
Mm.
Just check to see, breathe, and see if I can relax my body. That's it. That's it. We're not going down a big old journey of your childhood and analyzing all these things. Just that's it.
Uh-huh. No,
Relax.
that feels so good to me. And I feel that tension a lot when I'm like having to wait. I went to go
Mm.
pick up Indian food the other day and it was supposed to be ready and it took 15 minutes and I was sitting there waiting and I was like really hungry. But I noticed that I was like, I am so resisting this waiting time and this anxiousness. And I was just like, oh, I gotta go, I have all these things to do. But it was okay, right? So I sat there and I was like, just took some breaths and I was like, oh my gosh, I just noticed how anxious I was in the waiting. Because I feel like that's a really great place to practice is when we wait, because there's nowhere we can go. We're waiting, whether that's in the grocery store or waiting for our kids to get their shoes on, right? We're in the car, we're like ready to go, instead of being like, "Arr!" we can go,
Yes, such a great point because you don't have a choice. You
we don't
can't
have,
fill it with
yes.
stuff. You're just
Mhm.
you sit there and no, could you stare at your phone? How much do we stare at the phone? And then at the end of the day we go, I'm so busy. And I bet if I tracked how much time in your pauses that you had to just be in space, that you just did the
Mhm.
thing with your phone, you'd be surprised how much space and time you really do have. So, to your point, what a great opportunity to play the game. You have to have this sort of agreement. Okay, and again, you're not always going to be aware of it. You won't
Yeah,
always be aware that I'm just nervous in this 15 minutes that I have to wait now and being inside of my frustration that how dare you make me
yes,
wait. I'm a busy person. I have no time to wait. You're so inconsiderate. Low level resistance. Once
yeah.
again, all of that is resisting what is.
Mm. And I love that point because a lot of times when we're sitting there and we're uncomfortable, well, that's what we do. We go right to our phone and we just pick it up. I see it all the time. People just scrolling, and it's like, but that never makes you feel better. Like if anything, it always adds to that low level anxiety. If anything, I think it just makes it even more intense.
Totally. Now,
Right.
here's another trick to the game
Uh-huh.
based on that. Here's another great thing. So I notice that a lot. I live in a high rise and I have to go to the elevator several times. And that's a pause, right? Where you going? You're in an elevator and
Yeah.
you're waiting for the elevator. You ever seen people push the button like 3 times? You're waiting like it's coming faster. It's not. You're standing there. You got nowhere to go. But what I notice is the go-to.
Mm.
How often? I would say 90%. That's a pretty high number. 90% of the people waiting on the elevator and in the elevator are looking down at their phone.
Mhm.
So whenever I see that, it's not a judgment, it's a
Right.
notice. I choose because that's a signal to me to take a breath and relax. Because where am I going? Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Can you go do that ordinary thing, that thing that you don't even realize is causing so much ruckus in your life and ADD and contributing to the chaos and the tension and the resistance? I could do that and it's okay. And I'm not going to judge myself, as sometimes I do.
Right.
But most of the time, I want to play the game. So when I see somebody doing that, it's simply, I'm grateful because it reminds me, it's like, oh, there's a little signal in the game that helps
Mhm.
me to remember. 'Cause that's going to be the most important thing.
That's
Remember to
yes.
remember this. Yeah.
It is all about remembering to remember to take notice. How do I feel? I'm in resistance. I'm tightened. I'm clenched. How can I relax and release in this moment? And I have to say, when you begin doing that, it is magical.
Mm.
What I notice, especially like waiting in line, is I see things that I normally would never have seen. I have conversations with people that I would have never had a conversation if I was buried in my phone. And it's like it almost opens up life a little bit more.
Yes.
I
Well,
don't know
you pointed, no, you said you pointed to an incredible thing, and let's view it simply.
how.
When you take these pauses to contribute to, we'll call it stillness, we'll call it just a general peace for no reason other than just peace. That means I'm not borrowing it because I have peaceful circumstances. I'm the generator of that. I'm the governing force of that through these little pauses that we're speaking to.
Yeah.
So when you do that in the grocery store, because you're noticing the chaos, so I notice it, I see it. So that's my signal. I'm going to
Mm.
play the game because I'm in line. Where am I going? What are you doing? You're going.
No.
So you then cultivate that inner stillness, that inner calmness. And then let's talk frequency. When I'm in a state of low level resistance, which is kind of stress, just
Mm.
even though it's nothing that I'm going to write home about, it's still this low level, like I got to get here, I got to do this, I got to go, I got to be somewhere other than this moment that I'm in. Resistance.
Mhm.
That the only thing you're going to be able to see is what's a match for that frequency.
Mm.
That's just a law of physics. So
Mm.
we think that we're doing this little silly game, but we're really transforming our entire life. Because when I have, it takes courage, right? Because it takes something to break these little habits and patterns of rushing around or going to my phone because I'm resisting just being in the pause.
Yeah.
But when I do play these little games, I can do it in the line of the grocery store, easy. I can do that. Suddenly, to your point, all of a sudden,
Mhm.
I start to open up a whole world that's a match for that. I couldn't
Mm,
see it before. So you don't think this is actually transforming your life? You don't think this is where these opportunities, quote
mm,
unquote, come in? It's not that they weren't there. You just weren't available to see them and receive them.
mm. I mean, I've really, I just, that like speaks to my heart. Because what I hear you saying is, and let's take it like a big trigger. We're in a big trigger, we have no space, and then we yell, we create from the same frequency that that triggers in. So no matter what we're creating more of what we really don't like,
Absolutely. And
right?
therefore, it's giving us evidence that we're right and we're true. Life is really hard. This is so
Yes.
difficult. You're right. You are right. But it's simply a match for the frequency you're sitting in. It's simply a match for the energy that you're kind of cultivating inside of you. We just didn't know that there's a governing force that you, through your awareness, coming full circle, we're not fixing you. It's all right. We're not fixing you. We're just watching something that you didn't know was happening automatically.
Yeah, it's we create a little more space to actually see what reality is, rather than thinking it should be different or putting our judgment or spin on it. We just create the space like, okay, I'm in resistance now. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to relax my shoulders. Just going to take a moment. And what that can do,
Game changer.
little
Now,
thing. Go ahead.
yeah, now, moms,
Mhm.
mothers, you don't think that's going to impact children? Because here, let me prove this to you. Kids don't have the same layers that we have. We have tons of layers. What I mean by that is energetic layers that we've built over time that for protection. They're really also guards on the heart. So that means love going in and out has a harder time. You are essentially protecting yourself from pain, but also protecting yourself from receiving love too. So when you begin to cultivate these little nuggets of calm, that goes directly into the child. They receive it directly. And because they might have a memory of mom's usually stressed, it might be a delayed response, but it doesn't matter on we'll call it cellular level. They're still taking in that vibration.
Mm,
And that again is so much more powerful than
mm.
your words of teaching.
Oh my gosh.
Like no words could ever match the vibration that transfers into the child.
Mm,
So you have a child that's acting up a bit. Well, that's probably because they're in that low level
mm,
agitation with you on a regular basis, even though you're not saying anything. And maybe your words are always like carefully chosen, not always, but you try to do your best. It doesn't matter. They're picking up on that agitation, and that's what you're seeing.
in what in kind of different words, it's like we are tuning our children's nervous systems, like their frequency, like they feel everything. If we're in a frequency, they're going to feel that. And so what this little game of awareness, of curiosity can do is help us create and tune ourselves, create a different experience and tune ourselves to a higher frequency, which then will impact our children, which at the end of the day, that's really why we're here. We're healing so that we don't have to pass on all our crap to our children. And even if we already did, which it's okay, we can still help them in that journey to open their hearts and become, you know, not, I don't want my kids living in that low level, low grade agitation. Like it's not a fun place to live.
Can you think of a more important game?
No.
Oh. And we're saying game because at the end of the day, even though we have bigger bodies, we're all really, we just really want to have fun. You know, all I want to do is you let like all these chores and things that I'm starting to get resentment for. I got to do all this shit. We really just want to have, you know, an enjoyable life. And what an enjoyable life is to be in acceptance. And the moment I shift that energetically within me, this might seem silly, like I'm just going to do this silly little side game. No, but I'm sorry. It actually impacts your abundance, like finance,
Hmm.
because you have more intelligent thoughts
Yeah.
and you have more wherewithal how to make these chess moves.
Mm.
Your friendships, because the discernment begins to increase, and not as again a judgment, but you just start to be more clear of what you're drawn to and what
Mhm.
you're being moved away from, and you trust that more. I mean, it's, I'm telling you, just starting here at the line in the grocery store, not only does that impact you to have a more enjoyable life, what else is the point? But
Yeah.
it transfers, and therefore you start to break these ancestral bonds,
Mm.
where all of a sudden you notice you did a move like your mother and you said you'd never do that. But here you are.
Here
The
you are.
program just continues one generation after the next, and it doesn't matter what you know in your mind. It's
Mm.
a frequency transfer. There is no game more important than
Mm-mm.
this game.
And it's so simple. And at the same time, it takes something to remember.
Yeah.
Now how I think we need to talk about something that's so important that we talk about all the time, that we do all the time,
Uh-huh.
is how do we create that remembering to remember? And the stillness is
Meditation. Meditation. Well, and here's the thing, you know, you have to be smart. Most people listening to this, you're smart. You get that you have a certain intelligence. That means you have, if this is the most important game, like for everything you make, my no, my kids are the most important. Okay, well, great. This is the biggest impact on your children, so it's the
Mhm.
most important game. That means you've got to be intelligent. You've got to set yourself up to win the game.
Yep.
That means if your kid's a football player and you want your, he loves football, and the kid just like, this is everything I want to do, mom. Well, aren't you going to help support your kid, or are you just going to throw them into a game? Are you going to show them how to function inside of the game and be consistent over time? Or are you going to have them just do one practice and then they go to the game? No, use your intelligence. You have
Yeah.
to set yourself up for
Mhm.
the game.
Mm.
And so, to your point, one of the ways, there are many ways, one of the ways is through meditation.
Mhm.
Because if I don't have the wherewithal, understanding inside of my body, the embodiment to be still, there's no way I'm going to have an awareness that I'm not.
Mm. I mean, and that's, I really feel that's what we all want, is to get out of the programs and the spin of, just of being unaware and in that kind, in the matrix, I call it. It's just, you're just spinning there rather than being a conscious co-creator of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So if you have to put some discipline, which, or another way of saying discipline is a devotional practice. It means I'm devoted to this. It means there's some brave soul along the path, along the way, that breaks the chain and goes, there is no way I'm not going to give it everything that I have.
mm,
And the rest is, that's how it's going to go. But I declare I'm
mhm,
going to give it everything I've got
mm,
to feed this point of stillness, because I know the ripple effect
yeah,
of what that will cause, not only in my being, but therefore others. It will touch people I will likely never meet. So
mm,
I'm going to put something in place of devotion so that I fulfill on this agreement.
mm. And I don't think there could be anything greater of self-care.
No.
There's nothing.
You want to
I,
talk about beauty? You want to talk about beauty? Well, let's
I,
talk about the facts of what meditation causes and your little pauses in the grocery store.
mhm.
On a cellular level, it puts the cells back into their natural harmonic state. Don't take my word for it. Feel it in your own body. A
Oh,
stressful state versus a harmonic state of peace. Okay.
mhm.
What happens to the skin and to the glow of the eyes and the cellular regeneration? Your body's a magical thing. It's just untapped. You have not tapped fully into what this contraption can do for you because it doesn't work well in your state of resistance. It just doesn't. It doesn't. And even in your state of resistance, it's a freaking miracle,
Yeah,
right? I mean, holy crap, do we ever just ponder that for a second?
yeah.
So, guarantee there's an energy. I've seen it time and time again. That's why there's so much confidence because I have data around it. This is what I do. This is how I don't just work with people just to do it. I like to track the data
Mhm.
because the evidence is everything
Yeah.
for our minds. Once we get the evidence, we're like, oh my God, I'm doing that
Mhm.
thing. There's no way I'm not. There's so many perks
Yeah.
involved. Like it's endless.
It's endless.
It's the one thing that does everything that I've been
Yes.
chasing.
I almost don't know, it's not, it's life changing, but it's like life enhancing. It like opens you up to just true joy. But then also when you, because life is life, when those hard times come, when you can hold that awareness and that spaciousness and that knowing that everything passes, you know, the way that you can impact your whoever else is in that experience, it's like instead of going through this like climbing this hard mountain, it's like just you're harmonizing this experience through your awareness, and
Mm.
it just changes everything.
Yeah.
It really
Because,
does.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's no, it's endless, it's infinite. There's nowhere that it doesn't reach.
Yeah,
In the world of beauty, we do all these things, we spend all this money, and then I want to track your own life. Like look around. If
yeah,
you ever come across somebody that's got a glow, it's not because they've got Botox.
yeah.
There's an internal glow that has people drawn to it like a magnet, almost like when a baby's drawn to that glow in somebody. We naturally see it and flock to it because it's our natural state of being. We've just gone so far away from that natural state. We have to now put in a devotional practice to feed it again, let it come to
Mhm.
light, let it illuminate so you can get your own evidence in your life. And I promise you, you'll never stop.
You'll never stop. What, yeah, once you truly began to be consistent in this devotion, you'll never not do it because it feeds everything that you truly want. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I want this for everyone. I want to scream it from the mountaintops. Like it's so simple
Mm.
to just create space and stillness. And that's why you and I, you know, I've worked with you for so long. My life has completely changed, made a 180 based on this work. And I just really feel it in my heart that if we really want to change the future for our kids, it's going to start with us. And it's simple. When you're driving in the car and you're in traffic and you're feeling tense, notice, take a
Yeah.
breath
Start right there.
right
Let's
there.
start right there. That's it. Because again, when you're consistent and
Mhm.
you're sincere, and then what do I mean by that? That means I'm not just going to go, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
No, like you have to have consistency in it and a level of, okay, I'm really going
yeah,
to go in for a moment. What is it going to take me? 10, 15 seconds to slow it down and
yeah.
relax my body and just have an awareness. When I see somebody on the phone and I have a moment, I'm choosing to do that. Then what I'm saying is it ripples into, because a lot of times we like to go after the great big thing. I
Yeah.
want to just shoot for that great big thing, that great big problem, that great big thing, that the finances, this great big thing. We keep trying to hit it there. You don't hit it there without banging your head against the wall. But this little thing that you think is insignificant,
Mm,
imagine you do that more regularly in your life. Just like anything, it gains momentum and strength and it begins to feed all of these areas. So we're starting with that.
mhm.
And I also I'm gonna give another meditation. It's called the trigger meditation. I want to say
Amazing.
this is like 10 minutes long.
Perfect.
Stepping it up a little bit, 10
Yeah.
minutes.
We
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
We've got that. Just put your, just instead of scrolling on your phone, just play this meditation.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Ange. I'm so grateful for your support. I'm so grateful for these conversations, because in my heart, I know that, you know, people are just, the listeners are going to hear certain parts, and it's going to start to help them awaken and help them understand how powerful they are. And all we have to do is just start in these, you know, low grade triggers. Just start there. Start doing the meditations. It's baby steps. You're not going to go from here to enlightened being, right? Some people do. It's very rare, but that's not the expectation. We just got to take it one step at a time, and that's all we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Love you so much. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here, and check out the show notes for the link to the meditation, and we'll catch you on the next Hippie Moms podcast.